Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar for today, Your First Weeks in Canada as a Youth. This webinar is brought to you by New Canadians, a TV show and web series for newcomers to Canada. If you're in Canada, it broadcasts on Omni Television every week. And if you're in Canada or overseas, you can catch it on our website, newcanadians.tv, and our YouTube channel. This webinar is also in collaboration with Next Stop Canada, the pre-arrival services program. You can learn more about Next Stop Canada on their website, nextstopcanada.ca, and also you will learn a lot about the program during today's webinar. We have two amazing speakers today from Next Stop Canada, Stephanie Santos and Madeleine Curry. They are youth information and referral specialists, and they will give a lot of information about your first weeks in Canada as a youth to help prepare you for these few weeks, your first weeks in Canada, and to check off important things off your list, things like making connections, adapting to change, important documents, community and settlement services, and many other things that if you're prepared, your immigration journey in Canada will be much smoother and much successful. Before we start the webinar, the presentation part of the webinar, I just remind everyone that if you have any questions during the webinar, please type them in the Q&A tab on Zoom or in the chat box on YouTube if you're following us there. And Madeleine and Stephanie will be happy to answer your questions during the presentation. Welcome, Stephanie and Madeleine, to our webinar today.
Hello, thank you so much for having us. We're very excited to be here.
Yes, there's a lot that immigrants to Canada and in specific youth can do to better prepare their journey. So we're all looking forward to the information you will be sharing today during this webinar. So on to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Gerard. I'm just going to share our screen. All right, so thank you for being here today and joining us for our webinar on your first weeks in Canada as a youth. We do hope that you'll find the information helpful, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have at the end. So just to get us started for today, I'm going to go over the agenda. So we're going to cover a few topics. The first one will be what to expect when you arrive to Canada. We'll cover what documents you should apply for upon arrival, and we'll also be talking about settling in. So for newcomer youth, a lot of questions we get in our program is how to make new connections, where to go, how does the transportation work? So we're going to be covering all of those topics as well as community services, so important numbers that you want to know for when you arrive in Canada and the services that you will be able to access. And we do have some tips for shopping and basic needs that you might find helpful as well. So just to get started, we're going to start with what to expect upon your immediate arrival, though we do recommend you do research in the province you are going to before or the community. One thing that you should look out for is the weather. So as you prepare for your move, there are a few things you might want to pack ahead of time. So think about possible weather conditions you may experience here in Canada. We were just talking about the snow this morning. So you can always check the Weather Network for weather conditions across Canada. And we do have resources that we'd be happy to share with you as well. Depending on when you arrive, it could be spring, fall, or winter, and possibly be the very opposite of the weather in your country that you're leaving from. So you wouldn't want to take off, let's say, from the Philippines with shorts and a t-shirt and land in Brandon, Manitoba in the middle of winter without a change of warm clothes. We do have resources that we'd be happy to share with you as well. Depending on when you arrive, it could be... Sorry, I just heard feedback. We're good now. So in addition, if you are coming to Canada from a warmer country, it's a good idea to schedule your arrival during the spring or summer if you can. That way you can purchase your winter clothes here and prepare yourself before the winter weather comes. So keep that in mind that January is the coldest and snowiest month of the winter season here in Canada. So it's a good idea to maybe have some money set aside from some winter gear, such as your winter jacket, hat, mittens, scarves, and a lot of layers. So another thing you might notice when we arrive is that we have two official languages, so English and French. So you may notice the signs around you in the airport and the streets are going to be in both official languages. And these are two languages that you want to become familiar with. So in Quebec, the majority of residents do speak French, as well as in some communities in Manitoba, Ontario, and New Brunswick. And if you would like to practice your English or French skills, there's a lot of English training programs, some specifically for youth at no cost to newcomers that you can access to practice your skills, whether it be through government services, a settlement agency, or through language circles through a library. There's many great ways for you to practice either language. And again, depending on your province, we're happy to give you or share specific resources with you. So last but not least, before we jump into the rest of the presentation, we did want to cover what does youth mean in Canada. So as we mentioned, youth services can apply to anyone between the ages of 12 to 30, depending on the program and services. However, there are standards that generally apply and that we just want to go over with you now so that when you listen throughout the presentation, you might see these things apply to me, maybe these things I have to wait till I'm a little older. But in most provinces, the age of majority is considered 18. So that means that if you are under 18, you're considered a minor and you may need parental consent or permission in order to apply for certain programs and certain activities or do things like have your own phone contract, get a credit card or open a bank account. So there are also certain legal rights and protections for minors in Canada. And there's also legal ages that apply in Canada, depending on the province. So for example, a legal drinking age is 19, except for Alberta and Quebec, where it's 18. When you become a Canadian citizen and you want to vote, the voting age is 18. And there's also legal age to drive in Canada, which depends on the provinces. So in general, you can start driving when you are 16 or learning to drive. And each province also has their own eligibility to work. So depending on how old you are, generally in most provinces, the legal working age can be 16. But in provinces such as Saskatchewan, Ontario, you can start working at 14, 15, but it depends on the type of work. And you might also need to check with, have parental permission as well, and make sure that the hours don't overlap with your schooling. So those are things to look out for, and employers should be accommodating and flexible for you working as a student. So I won't go too much more into the employment, but with that in mind, just keep in mind the ages requirements for certain things. And I'm gonna pass the presentation on to Maddie now.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Okay, so you've scoped out the weather and you're now ready to step into your new life in Canada. So we'll just talk now about some of the things you will need to do when you first land in the country. So to start, I'll talk about your confirmation of permanent residence document. So if you are a minor, that is under the age of 18, and traveling with your family or guardian, this will most likely be something that they will take care of for you and not something that you personally need to worry about. However, you should know that your family will receive a confirmation of permanent residence document before they come to Canada, and that they will provide this upon arrival to the immigration officer to have stamped. Your family member or guardian will then have to confirm a mailing address in order to receive their permanent residence cards, which I'll talk about in a moment. If you are traveling on your own to Canada or are 18 and older, you will be responsible for protecting your confirmation of permanent residence document. So I just want to go over some of the important information now with regards to this important document. When you initially arrive at the airport, you have to provide the COPR documents to the immigration officer. Please make sure that the officer signs and stamps this paper and gives it back to you, because unfortunately, there have been cases in the past where the officer forgot to sign and stamp this paper, and this did cause problems when the person tried to access government services later because they were not able to prove they were a landed immigrant. So make sure you have the document ready to present and get stamped when you first arrive. Once you receive this document, be sure to keep it safe. Do not laminate it and do not destroy the paper at any point, even after you receive your permanent residence card. If you lose this document, you will need to apply and pay for a replacement and wait at least 8 to 9 months to receive a new one. Again, even after you receive your permanent residence card. You will actually need the COPR document in order to become a Canadian citizen, so just keep it safe. The next important document to talk about is your permanent residence card. This is your official document to prove that you are a permanent resident of Canada. Again, if you're traveling with family, this will be something that they will probably arrange on your behalf. However, even if you are under 18, you will receive your own permanent resident card. You must carry it with you when you are traveling and re-entering the country until you receive your Canadian citizenship. Once you receive Canadian citizenship, you no longer need this card because then you will have your Canadian passport. For anyone who is traveling on their own and will be sorting out their own documents, you will arrange for your permanent resident card. You do not apply for the permanent resident card at immigration when you first arrive. Instead, after your COPR paper has been signed, the immigration officer will ask you for your address in order to mail your PR card to you. Now you've just arrived, so you may not have a permanent address just yet, and that's totally okay. The government has an option for you to provide one at a later date, and you can do this online. You must submit your address before the 180-day mark from your arrival date. If not, you have to reapply for your permanent resident card and pay the application fee and wait additional time to receive it. So we just want to remind you that your COPR and PR card documents are two different documents, as you can see on the screen. And again, you must keep your confirmation of permanent residence document with you forever, while your PR card is only needed until you get your Canadian citizenship. So I'll just now talk about your social insurance number, which is also known as your SIN. Your SIN is a 9-digit unique identification number, which allows you to work in Canada and to apply for government programs and benefits. If you are of working age in your province, as Stephanie just sort of touched upon, and want to work, you will need your social insurance number in order to work and get paid by your employer. And even if you are not yet of age to work, as a permanent resident of Canada, you do need this number. Again, if you're immigrating with your parents or family, they may apply for this number on your behalf, which is free to do. However, individuals who are 12 years and older can also apply for this number on their own. So this next information is for those of you who will be applying for your own social insurance number. Depending on your landing time and the province and city that you land in, you may have the option to apply for your social insurance number when you arrive at the airport. However, if for any reason you cannot do this, you can go to any Service Canada office, which is a federal government office, and these are found throughout Canada, and you can apply for the social insurance number there as soon as you can. Generally, you will receive it right then and there in office, provided you have all the right documentation. Right now, due to the impacts of the pandemic, you can apply for your social insurance number via email if you cannot visit one of these Service Canada centers. Please keep in mind that your social insurance number is confidential and it is your responsibility to protect this number from any inappropriate use, fraud, or theft. The SIN is not an identification, and you should only provide your SIN when it is required. So some examples of when it might be required is you may have to provide it to your employer when you get a job, if you want to join an employment program that is funded by the government, when you're doing your income taxes, and lastly, when you go to open a bank account, some banks may ask you to provide this number, although most of the time this is also optional. So now that we've kind of run through those 3 things, let's look at a few other important documents. So let's look at your health card and health plan. For the most part, the healthcare system in Canada is free for residents, and it is delivered by the provincial governments. You do need to apply for your health plan, and each province has different requirements and a different name for their health insurance. For example, in Ontario, it's called the Ontario Health Insurance Plan, which we call OHIP, but in British Columbia, it is called Medical Services Plan. Each province has their own requirements for healthcare coverage, including eligible documents, length of waiting time to receive coverage from when you arrived in Canada, and eligible age to apply for your own card. Again, depending on your age and if you're immigrating with family members, your health card and your health plan may be something your family set up for you, or you may be covered under your parents' insurance and not need your own health card. However, if you're traveling on your own, and again, depending on your age, you may be responsible for applying for your own healthcare coverage. For example, here in Ontario, if you're 15 and a half years old, you can apply for your own card and you must have your own documents in order to apply. In most provinces, you're eligible to get your health card and have access to services 3 months after your landing date. However, you have to apply during those initial 3 months in Canada. During this 3-month waiting period, any cost that you incur at a medical facility is not covered by the province. Because of this, if you are traveling on your own and are of an age where you'll be applying for your own healthcare coverage, you will want to look into having private medical insurance for that waiting period, as medical costs without insurance and coverage can be very expensive. Due to the current pandemic situations, some provinces, such as Ontario, have waived the 3-month waiting period, so you may be eligible for provincial health insurance right away when you first arrived in Canada. Make sure that you visit the provincial website and do your research, including what you will need to do to apply and where you need to go to do it. When you are applying for this provincial health insurance, be sure to have all the necessary documents with you, which includes proof of address and 2 pieces of ID, such as passport or your confirmation of permanent residence. I just want to pause really briefly here before talking about the other documents on the screen and talk a little bit about additional health coverage plans that may be in place for you as a youth or young person coming to Canada. As one example, in Ontario, we have something called the OHIP Plus program, which covers youth age 24 and under who have an OHIP card but do not have additional private insurance. So this program provides more than 5,000 prescription medications at no extra cost to youth and young adults. So do make sure you look out for youth-specific health coverage in your province as you prepare for Canada. And while we're talking about youth health resources, I just want to mention that in Canada, there are lots of community health resources for youth and for your specific needs. So this includes youth mental health supports, youth drop-in clinics, and teen health workshops, gender-specific health supports, such as clinics for young women, and more. And this also includes free virtual mental health resources for youth too. So if you have a specific concern, especially as a young person coming to Canada, just know that you should be able to find a resource that's right for you. So now I'll just talk about applying for a driver's license or a photo identification card. So I'll start first with your provincial photo identification card. As we mentioned at the top of this presentation, the legal driving age in most Canadian provinces is 16, so you may not be able to apply for a driver's license just yet, or you may not be interested in driving in Canada just yet. However, you may want to have an official piece of government identification that you can use. You may be thinking you can use your PR card for identification, which you can, but it is not something that we recommend because you don't want to risk it getting lost or stolen. So you may want to look into applying for a provincial identification card instead, which is available in most provinces, excluding Quebec. So applying for this card is generally pretty easy. You may have to provide proof of identity and residency and may have to pay a small fee, but can usually replace it if you do lose this photo ID card. It's usually pretty easy to replace. And it will be accepted as official identification here in Canada. However, you may be of an age to apply for your driver's license. It'll depend on your age and if you've driven before in your home country, and again, the different provincial restrictions and requirements. If you have a license in your own country, you may be able to exchange your license for a provincial license. It will depend on the province, and it will depend on your country of origin, and if that country has a license exchange agreement with your new province. Each province has its own system. However, all of them will ask you to provide similar documents, such as the letter of your driving history and your original driver's license from back home. If you wish to get your driver's license here in Canada and you've had that previous license, do not forget to bring these documents with you when you come to Canada. If these documents are not English, you must get them translated here in Canada by a certified translator. Or English or French, Canada's official languages. Translated documents from other countries will not be accepted. So once you receive your driver's license, you can then use this as your official photo identification. If you are 16 years and older and you want to apply for your first license, you can do this too when you arrive in Canada. Again, the process will depend on the province. There is no rush to apply for your first license. You may want to get a feel for the area you're living in, get used to public transit, and settle in with everything else and that we'll talk about in this presentation. If you do want to get your license, there will be a provincial licensing program you will go through and driving classes that you can take. If you become a Next Stop Canada youth client, which we'll talk about at the end of this presentation, we can always provide more information on driving for you if you're a new driver who is curious about how to get your license in a specific province. And then last but not least, before I pass this over back into the next topic, we'll talk a little bit about banking. So your banking needs and options will vary depending, again, on what age you are. So in Canada, if you are under the age of 18, you'll be able to open a bank account only if you open a joint account with your parents or legal guardian, or if you have parental consent. However, there are some great options out there from banks for teens and youth, including accounts that can help you save and manage your money and plan ahead for post-secondary education and other such things. So we'd really encourage you to talk about different banking options with your families and talk to them about looking into teen and youth accounts. And that way, when you're choosing a bank, just make sure that you do your own research and choose the bank that best fits your needs. And if any of you listening to this today are 18 or older, you can open a bank account on your own. It's a good idea to do so to secure your funds, especially if you plan on working in Canada, as many of our employers pay by direct deposit, where money is deposited directly into your account with each pay period. There are lots of great options at various banks, both for newcomers or if you are a student in university, for students. For example, with some newcomer accounts, you do not have to pay for banking fees for the first 6 months or even a year, and many banks do offer these student discounts as well. So if you're of an age to open your accounts, ask the bank about packages they offer to newcomers and students to see what's best for you. Okay, so we've covered these important documents very briefly, so let's move on to the next slide to talk about government-funded settlement services. So, as one of the very first things you can do when you arrive in Canada, we highly encourage you to visit a settlement agency close to where you live. These are fantastic nonprofit organizations, usually funded by the provincial and federal governments, whose services are free to you as a permanent resident here in Canada. These organizations offer excellent resources, information, and advice on living in Canada and have specific supports for youth. They are a great first place to start when you arrive, and they often offer orientations so you know what to do and where to go when you first arrive in Canada. They really provide that in-person, on-ground support. They also have settlement workers who can provide you with help to meet settlement needs and goals, such as providing you with one-on-one counseling support by giving you information or referrals on any settlement services, including school, housing, and providing, again, these orientations on life in Canada. They also have youth-specific programs, which include social groups, youth employment programs and skill development, leadership programs. For example, the YMCA of Greater Toronto has a newcomer youth leadership program, which is really great. And then other such programs which are related to your needs as a youth. They can also provide customized referrals to other organizations and services to meet your needs. And again, they can help you with filling out forms, understanding government correspondence, and any of those types of things that you may need to do as well. They can offer translation and interpretation services for free and provide basic employment counseling and resume editing. Again, in the context of youth employment, they often have specific youth support for finding your first job here in Canada. And they also offer group activities like homework clubs and tutoring, workshops specific to youth, and then social outings like day trips to local attractions or community events celebrating different cultures. And these events can help you both meet new people in Canada as well as stay connected to your own culture here. And then finally, they also offer language resources. So these are available at most centers, and you can access English or French language classes, which I think Stephanie mentioned at the beginning of this. And you may do an assessment and they can help you find a class that's appropriate to your need and language level. So once again, these services are free and available to newcomers to Canada. So we really suggest that you connect with them right away and learn about all the supports you can access and receive as a youth. It's a great first step to arriving, and your whole family can benefit from connecting with a settlement agency. So I'll now pass it back over to Stephanie, who will talk about housing and school in Canada, which of course are also big things to sort out when you first arrive.
Thank you, Maddie. So yes, this is another common question we get is how to find housing for newcomers, whether you're coming with your family, you're coming on your own. It is important to plan this out. So if you are immigrating with your family, first we suggest when you arrive, get to know the area of where you're going to be settling, look at the neighborhood, see if there's schools nearby, grocery shops, are you going to be commuting? So those are important things to look out for when you're deciding on a place to live once you come to Canada. And now for those of you that might be immigrating on your own, And for the first time to Canada, you'll also want to look at places to stay during your first weeks. And this can be temporary or before you find your long-term housing. So maybe consider staying with family and friends if you have a network in Canada already. For short-term stays, many of our clients also use hostels or hotels, or renting their short-term rents available that you can use for your first weeks in Canada. So whichever your choice is, it's a good idea to have your accommodation sorted out ahead of time so that you have a place to stay. And you can also look into other housing options for students for more permanent long-term housing, which we'll go over in this next slide. So what is student housing? Student housing typically refers to a residence of occupancy by a student enrolled in college or university, and they're designed for the purpose of providing rooms and accommodations, often priced per room or bed for students. So many post-secondary institutions offer their own student housing, which you can apply when you register for the school. So this type of housing is usually referred to as student residency. Meaning students will be assigned to dorm rooms. So it's the first picture you see on your screen. And these dorms are usually on campus, and there may be meal plans available and group activities in the building for students. And keep in mind, these are shared spaces, so you might be sharing with another person. Another option for student housing would be getting an apartment. So there's student apartments, which are off-campus housing for college and university students. They're typically not owned by the college or university, but are available to those who are enrolled in college classes or are generally, again, priced per bed lease. So you might have a shared space and your own bed. Based on what you are looking for, either could be a great option. So one will give you more things provided to you, such as the meal plan and activities, while the other might give you more independence and space. Some things to consider are that student apartments might not include furniture, but you will have better privacy and maybe fewer rules. But however, the pros of the dorm room is that you are right on campus, so everything's super close. Meals could be included, but there would be typically less space at an apartment. And then the third option we did want to go over is getting a house, so renting out a house, maybe near campus or school. And again, depending on your age, this might be possible, or you might need a parent. But there are student housings available, so they'll typically rent out, again, a room to each individual, and you'll have a shared maybe kitchen and living space. And if you are 18 and older and are arriving as a newcomer, but not a student, you'll then be looking at renting your own apartment or shared accommodations. So for those of you that will be going through the lease process and all of this, keep in mind that when you are starting a lease or a contract, or you're renting for the first time, there are important questions to ask your landlord and things to consider. So make sure you ask if utilities are included, what is included in the rental price, and things like that. And then there may be questions from the landlord, but there are some questions that the landlord will not be allowed to ask you, and you are protected by law here in Canada. So for example, any personal questions about religion, orientation, or age are not allowed to be asked by the landlord. And similarly, like I mentioned before, you should also be prepared with your own list of questions to ask the landlord when meeting with them and before starting that lease. So normally the minimum age to rent would be 18 years old, though this will vary, again, from province to province in Canada. And if landlords are reluctant to rent to younger tenants, other options, as we mentioned, would be to get a parent to sign on the lease, or someone that can be a co-signer or co-guarantor that ensures that if you're not able to make that payment, they're responsible for it. So we won't go too much more into this, as we know some of you might be coming with your families, some of you might be coming on your own, but we did want to share these types of housing available for newcomer youth to Canada. So on the next slide, we're going to be talking about registering for school, which is another big question we get, is education. We know it's important for youth, and you're thinking, what grade am I going to be in when I arrive? How does my studies compare to the studies in Canada? So here in Canada, the school year would typically run from September to June. However, you can enroll at any given time based on the year when you arrive. So if you arrive anytime from September to June, you can enroll right away and start, your classes. And one thing to note is that the school you attend in Canada will be based on where you will be living. So that's an important thing to look out for when you're looking for housing, is look for the school in the area and see if it has the programs you're interested in. If it's somewhere that you want to go, then the living area where you will be moving depends what school you will be going to as well. So another question we get is, what documents do we need to register for school? So there are a few, which we'll go over. The first one is providing proof of age. So you will have to provide your birth certificate in order to register. And again, this is for elementary, secondary, high school. You will also have to provide a proof of immigration status. So you can provide documents such as your COPR, or your passport, depending on the documents you have at hand when you first arrive. And another thing that's important to provide is proof of address, because again, you need to be in the area of the school in order to attend. So you can provide either a rental or lease agreement, utility bills, or mail that show your name and address. And you will also need to provide your immunization records to show that you have been immunized. And it's also a great idea to bring any transcripts. This is true for both elementary, secondary, or post-secondary students. Any transcripts from your last year of schooling in your home country, you do want to bring them with you to Canada so that when they do an assessment and they need to place you in a grade, they'll be able to see what classes you've taken and how to better help you out in your transition to school in Canada. So as a newcomer student, you may also need to access school welcome centers to register and be placed in the appropriate grade. So for elementary school, you will be placed in your grade based on your age. And for high school, you will need to be assessed on your math and your English skills to be placed in the grade accordingly. And again, for most post-secondary education, you may require a credential assessment if you've already started your post-secondary schooling in your home country. So this may be necessary to apply for the program of choice if you want to continue studying here in Canada. And last but not least, there are also settlement workers in school available to help you with your transition into the new school environment. So settlement workers in school, known as SWIS, provide information and referrals to school, community, and based resources. And they support the settlement process of newcomer families and students. In addition, they also provide group information sessions for both parents and youth to encourage school and community engagement. So with that being said, I'll now pass the presentation over to Maddie to talk about transportation.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephanie. So yeah, let's talk about transportation, because you'll want to learn about your public transit system so you can really explore your new community when you first get here. So all cities and most major towns in Canada do have a public transportation system with one or more modes of transportation, like bus, trains, or subway. There are some examples of transit in some of the major cities in Canada right here on your screen. So routes generally reach most parts of a city or town, but service is usually more frequent in central areas. So this may be something to consider when you are looking for a place to live. The bus is the most common form of urban transportation in Canada. And in addition to bus networks, some cities also have streetcars, or what you might know as trams, light rail trails, or subways. In most cases, you can easily transfer from one mode of transportation to the other, although it depends on, again, their individual public transit system for each city. Many of these systems will not only have their own websites where you can check maps, routes, and schedules, but also they will have their own apps. For example, here in Toronto, I use an app called Rocketman, which gives me live updates in real time about when the next bus or streetcar will arrive. So it's been a great resource for me to use. If you are moving to a rural community or a smaller community, there may not be a public transit system available. So I grew up in a very small town in Nova Scotia, and we did not have a public transit system. But the good thing is that most things in the community were walkable. And this did mean that I did get my license pretty early, as soon as I could, which was 16. But until then, there were community carpool options and taxis. So there were ways to get around. It just might involve a little bit more planning. So we also had a weekly bus that also went to other areas as well. So if you are moving to a smaller community, it may have some transit, but it might just be on a more specific, more infrequent schedule than a big city. So you just want to make sure you do your research and learn about your options for where you are arriving to. So we'll now move on to the next slide to just talk about fares and paying for public transit in Canada. So on your screen, you can see many options, though the most common method for those that frequently travel and use public transportation in these cities and larger areas would be a preloaded card or a monthly pass. So each transit system, again, has their own method of payment, but more and more transit systems are moving to a preloaded card that you can tap or load and put new funds on to gain entry into the transit system. So to use public transit, you will need a ticket or transit pass like these cards or passes. And these usually can be purchased from a train station, most convenience stores, or in many cases, you can pay the exact amount in cash when boarding a bus or another similar transport vehicle. There are often student or youth rates available for public transportation, which is really fantastic and definitely something you should look into. So if you are 12, you may even qualify for free rides on transit systems. So again, in Toronto, for example, you ride free if you are 12 and under. And then youth rates apply for youth age 13 to 19. In other cities, such as Calgary, youth rates apply until age 17. And then again, most cities will also have post-secondary student passes that are often priced better for students in universities and colleges. So you can visit your local public transportation website to learn more on student pricing and what options are available to you. And again, it is really important to research the public transit system in the area you'll be living or methods of getting around, so you can be prepared when you first arrive and how you can explore your community. So I'll now pass it back over to Stephanie to talk about one of the most important and fun things to do in Canada, which is to make connections.
So we're going to be going over shopping and basic needs, I think.
Sorry about that.
No worries, but that does bring us to another important topic, which is budgeting and saving. As a youth or a student, it's a great time to start budgeting and take advantage of all the student savings you have available, because there are many savings for students, as Maddie mentioned, transportation being one of them. So the first things we wanted to go over are when you're grocery shopping. So as a student, we suggest looking at flyers and student grocery discounts. So most big stores and supermarkets here have weekly flyers where they feature items on sale for the week. It can be either food products or electronics or furniture. For example, 900 grams of coffee is usually priced at $12.99, but if you wait for the weekly flyer, you could get it for around $5.99 or $6.99. And that's almost 50% off savings. So one useful tip, if you want to compare flyers of major grocery chains here in Canada, you can download the mobile app Flip, as seen on your screen, and you can search for flyer deals and coupons by item, brand, and category, and find the best deals in your weekly essentials and make saving money super easy. So in addition to saving on groceries and food, many times, if you're a post-secondary student on campus, they'll also have deals for students, so student price lunches. I remember on my campus, they did have available student pricing for lunches every Tuesday or Wednesdays. So those are things to look out for in your area to see what student prices and discounts are available. Another way to save money is through price match. So price matching is a practice where a store agrees to give or match a lower advertised price from a rival store and sell you the same product for the lower price. So for example, if I bought milk from a grocery store and I found out from a flyer that it is selling the same brand, the same milk at a cheaper price, I can show that flyer to the store. And if they do practice price match, they'll give you the lower price. So keep in mind that not all chains might practice this price matching process, but you can ask. And if it is part of their price matching policy, then take advantage of it because you'll be getting the same item for the lower price. Another thing to look out for is in-store discounts. So when you go to a store, make sure to check for the clearance section, which is normally located at the back, or they'll have a designated rack. So these are items that are already out of season or most likely discontinued, and you can buy them at very low prices. For example, during the end of winter season, you can find winter boots and jackets at a much cheaper price because they are making room for the new season's merchandise. So I personally like to go to the clearance section when I'm shopping and find really good deals there. So for example, jackets, winter jackets in Canada, they might have gorgeous coats for $125, and on sale or clearance, you can get it for as low as $30. So many stores and clothing brands may also offer student discounts as well. So make sure to always ask if there's any student savings and if you can apply to those. Coupons are another great way to save money. So you can find coupons in flyers, newspapers, or magazines. Some websites in Canada have them as well, where you can download and print. And again, the Flip app or websites like Groupon are great to take advantage of for savings and coupons. And there's also special day sales here in Canada. So ones that we want to mention, the first one is just past, so Black Friday. It was this past Friday. It's usually near the end of November. Another one is Boxing Day, which happens on December 26th. And these are days where things in stores are at very high discounted prices. So if there was an appliance, a household appliance, or items that you were looking to get, these are good days to keep in mind to do shopping, as you can save. You can look for these deals in stores and online and do a lot of your shopping during this time. And another thing we do have here in Canada is dollar stores. So depending where you are, you might have a Dollarama seen on your screen, or a Dollar Tree, or a Family Dollar. They're called different names across different areas and provinces, but essentially a dollar store is where you can buy items worth from $1 to $4. I personally find a lot of useful things. They carry a lot of things like food products, kitchen supplies, art materials, and toys for kids. And that being said, the last thing I want to again mention, and I know I've mentioned it a lot, but look for student discounts. There is a student discount card available in Canada known as the SPC card. And you might be able to access this card whether you're signing up for a student banking account. As Maddie mentioned, there are student offers even for banking, so you might get a card there, or through your post-secondary institution. And this student discount card, so the student price card, offers you many discounts at various retailers. From food to clothing stores, you will get discounts with that card. So that's something you might want to look into as well. So moving on, another thing that is important when moving is getting your internet up, your cell phone, and home services. So if you are on a family plan, there are family plans available here in Canada if you're coming with your family, which you'll be able to save, especially when it comes to phone plans. You can get family bundles where you'll have a better pricing. And if you are on your own, you do have to be 18 plus to get and sign a contract for phones, but if it is applicable, a lot of newcomers look for phones as soon as they arrive, and there are a lot of mobile phone companies that offer different mobile plans and prices that you can compare. So make sure to do your research first to see which one best fits your needs. On your screen, well, there are different websites that you can compare phone plans that we'd be happy to share with you. And if you're a person that uses, let's say, the internet more, you might look for more data on that phone plan. There's also bundles from companies where you can get a cell phone and internet bundles that also allows you to save, and there may be student pricing available there too. Please note that some plans require you to sign 2 or 3 year contracts with them. So before signing anything, make sure to read all of the terms and conditions in the contract. And if you are planning to get a cable subscription or internet, like I mentioned, there are promotions for first-time users like newcomers to Canada. But again, just like the mobile plan, you will have to sign a contract. So make sure to ask how long it is for and the details that go along with that contract, and if there's any cost to cancel that subscription. And on the other hand, a lot of newcomers would also like to still be updated with current events back home and have access to it through the TV channels and ethnic communities. So you can now check out many online resources such as newspapers, magazines, written by your specific ethnic community here in Canada to keep in touch with what's going on back home. And remember, there are a lot of ways to keep in touch, and Canada is a multicultural country, so you can still keep in touch with back home. So that being said, I'm going to pass it on to Maddie now to talk about community services.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephanie. So yeah, there are some important numbers that you'll need to know when you arrive in Canada so you can get the help that you need. So in case of all fire, police, or medical emergencies, you can always call 911 to contact help. All phone calls to 911 are free, including calls made by payphone or cell phone. Please note that calls must be of an urgent nature, such as witnessing a crime that has just occurred, if you see an uncontrolled fire, if medical help is immediately required, if someone is trapped, drowning, or another serious situation, things like that that qualify as real emergencies. So you do not call 911 to obtain information, to make a complaint, to report a power outage, or for weather information, and definitely not as a prank call. The police will respond and you will be fined for abusing emergency services. If you do have to call 911, always remember to stay calm and give clear information about the emergency situation. If you are a bit concerned about your English language skills, just let the operator know whatever language you speak. For example, just say French, Farsi, Mandarin, whatever your first language is, and the agent will contact a translator right away and get you the help that you need. So if we move on to the next slide, we can talk about a few other numbers that are important to know for you to access community services and non-emergency numbers. So let's say you need to get information about a particular government service, maybe an address of an organization, or you want to find a particular youth program. For these situations, there are contact numbers and establishments that you can connect with. So I'll start first by looking at 211. So 211 and 211.ca is a free helpline and website that provides information on and referrals to a province's community, social, health-related, and government services. It is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, in over 100 languages. All provinces in Canada have a 211 website and helpline, except for Newfoundland and Labrador at current time, but they are building one, and they also have their own community services directory as well. There's also 311. These are city information hotlines. So if you are in a city that has a 311 hotline, you can call for information about city and municipal programs and services, such as garbage collection, snow removal, and transit. It is free, multilingual, and available during business hours. So do please take note that not all cities and municipalities here in Canada have this kind of service. So if you want to know more about a particular program and service of your city, town, or new region, you can always check their website as well. 411 is a website where you can search for a person or business, such as a restaurant, a church, convenience store, etc. That's in your area. If you are calling, 411 is not free to call, and the cost will depend on your phone provider. So you do want to check with them to confirm that cost before you make that call. However, it is free to search online at 411canada.ca. So if you're looking for health resource and health information, you may be able to call 811. 811 is a free of charge provincial health information and advice phone line available in all provinces. Although here in Ontario, we have our own free health line, which is called telehealth. So with 811 or telehealth, you can call these numbers in a non-urgent health issue to get some information or to ask some advice. However, in the event of a serious problem or emergency, it is important to dial 911 or go to the emergency room of a hospital. So when you call 811, you do get access to a network of registered nurses who can provide you with information. But again, for more serious things, you should seek out 911 or the emergency room at a hospital. And then just want to talk really briefly about Kids Help Phone. It is Canada's only 24/7 national support service for youth and young adults. So they offer professional counseling, information and referrals, and volunteer-led text-based support to young people in both French and English. So you can connect with them through phone, text, or through their website. And they can provide referrals to youth organizations, as well as give you youth mental health support. They are a great resource to connect with, as they can provide a lot of support if you're going through something or having a tough time, or you want to have some referrals that are specific to your needs. So there are also other community services that can really help you out, especially in your first few weeks in Canada. So I'll talk about my favorite resource, which is the local public library. Public libraries in Canada offer a wide range of resources such as books, DVDs, language learning videos, magazines, laptops, and much more. They also offer a lot of free activities, programs, and classes, so you can upgrade your skills or just social ones that you and your family can enjoy. Some public libraries offer newcomer programs that provide settlement services, language classes, job search support, and more, and often have youth programs as well. When I first moved to Toronto, I went to my local library all the time. I still do. But when I first arrived, to get organized, to get set up, and to learn all about my new community. And speaking of community, you'll also want to check out your local community centers. Community centers are places where you can do recreational activities, exercise, learn new skills, get information, and meet new friends. Community centers offer a wide range of facilities such as swimming pools, skating rinks, gymnasiums, weight rooms, and meeting rooms. They also offer programs for youth, from art classes to workshops to fitness programs, after-school programs, youth leadership, and youth skill development courses and programs. So community centers are a wonderful resource to help you meet other people, get to know your neighborhood and your community, and for your own personal growth. So if you are looking for your own library or community center within your city or region, again, please feel free to call 211 or take a look and do your own research. So I will now pass this back over to Stephanie. We will talk a little bit more about things available to you.
Thank you, Maddie. So we did promise to talk about making connections because it is an important topic for newcomer youth. So there are many great places to start building your network here in Canada and make those connections. So the first one would be in school. You can start making connections in school. A great tip would be by joining a sports club that you're interested in. There's many clubs available in school that you can join as well, similar interests, whether it be dancing or other committees. For myself, I remember being involved in an anti-bullying committee. You can start your own clubs in school as well. And another great option would be to join a newcomer youth program, such as ourselves here in Accept Canada. We have a pre-arrival youth program. There's also post-arrival programs that we can refer you to, such as the Newcomer Youth Development Program here through the YMCA. And newcomer youth programs are a great way to meet people that share your same experiences. All provinces in Canada offer a wide array of youth services designed to meet your unique needs. And depending where you are, you can access all kinds of programs, such as ones related to, again, your favorite hobby, ones that focus on skill development, leadership. And it's a great way to become involved with your community and form new connections. And then the last option we wanted to mention is work and or volunteer. So volunteering is very big here in Canada. It's a great way to make professional networks, but also social networks as well. Again, you'll be working with like-minded people, maybe in your area of interest or field. And this is a great way to start building and fostering those connections that can actually help you in your professional journey as well here in Canada. And it's never too early to start as a youth. So there's many volunteer websites available. You can contact your local organization that shares your similar values in order to look for volunteer positions that meet your needs. And again, it's a great way to make connections. We also acknowledge that adapting to change can be difficult when moving to a new country. So there are just some tips we wanted to end our presentation with, is to stay optimistic. There's so many opportunities for learning and growth when there is change. Also remember that there are supports available. You're not on your own. There's other people that can help you along the way, whether it's family or friends or mentors. We do have mentors available through our program as well. There's always someone to talk to about your experiences and provide supports along the way. Also, prepare yourself, just as you're doing by being here today. Collect all the information and research for your life ahead, and that will help you to feel more confident when you make the move, and it won't be as shocking. You'll know what to expect. You'll know what resources are available. And remember that adapting to a new country and culture can definitely challenge as well your mental health. And you're not alone. There's many online and in-person youth programs. Again, making those connections, having someone to talk to will help you to maintain that, good mental health and help you with all these changes that you are experiencing. So with that being said, we just wanted to share and end this presentation by letting you know what our services are, what we offer. So Next Stop Canada, I'll pass it on to you, Maddie, if you want to introduce it, and then we'll just touch on the youth program as well.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. I'd love to talk about what we can do for you at Next Stop Canada. So Next Stop Canada is an online national pre-arrival program funded by Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada to assist people who are already approved to immigrate to Canada but have not yet landed. So our program's primary objective is to provide settlement services, including information and referrals on housing, education, health, employment, finance, and family support. So to access the services, we do have some criteria. You do have to be at least 12 years of age or older. And if you are between the ages of 12 to 19, you'll qualify for our youth program, which we'll talk about in a minute. You must also live outside Canada and have not yet immigrated to Canada. And you must have official approval for permanent residence from Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada, so IRCC. So once you are a client of Next Stop Canada, you will have access to many different services, as you can see on the screen, and I will just briefly talk about them. First of all, you do have the option to contact us via live chat. If you want to speak with an information and referral specialist, you can join us here. We're available Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So this gives you an opportunity to ask all your questions in real time and get the answers right away. Another thing we offer is your personalized settlement plan. So each member of Next Stop Canada, each client, including our youth members, is given a youth settlement plan. This is a plan that has customized resources about topics that are relevant to your unique needs and interests. We also host and participate in live webinars, just like this one. We cover different topics relevant to your before and after arrival experiences, and we do have youth-specific content. On our platform, we also have online resources, which include blogs, short videos, pre-recorded webinars. Again, all of these relevant to your experiences and concerns. So these are really useful, and you can take advantage of these to learn a lot about preparing for Canada. And again, for youth, we also have some great e-learning courses about education and other useful topics. We also have a mentors forum. So if you are looking to work in Canada and are looking to connect with professionals in your field, you can start by using our mentors forum. Our mentors have all immigrated to Canada and have established themselves by entering their occupation or making a successful career change. They are very eager to help and guide you through your journey and can provide some really great personalized advice and support. And then lastly, again, we have our youth program. So if you are between the ages of 12 to 19 years old, you can register for our youth program. And you may also want to register your children or siblings if they are between this age range. And Stephanie can then go over what our youth program is all about on the next slide.
Thank you, Maddie. So yes, you can register for our youth program on our website page, and we do have a register with us button there. So our youth program, as Maddie covered, does have e-learning courses available to youth, webinars focused on youth. We have youth mentors that share stories and videos specifically for youth. And for our youth mentors, they're actually newcomer youth who have potentially gone through that newcomer experience as well. They're now settled in Canada, so they know what the process is like to register in school, what it's like to start at a new school, and they can share their advice with you. They're happy to help, so we provide that one-on-one mentorship to our youth clients. We also have that live chat available where you can chat with a youth information and referral specialist like myself and Maddie. And if you are interested in registering, you can visit nextstopcanada.ca, click on the register tab, and there will be a registration page for you to fill out. Once the registration is confirmed, you will receive an email and instruction to log into our website, and you will receive an email from your information and referral specialist to get you started on creating that personalized settlement plan. So with that being said, we're happy to answer any questions you may have now, and thank you, Gerard, for this opportunity.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you, Madeleine, for your informative questions. And I'm sure everyone who's watching or who will be watching this webinar will benefit a lot, whether use or not use. Some of the information was beneficial to everyone, actually. There are a few questions if you can ask quickly. There's a question from Saurabh that he's applied for a course in Timmins, Ontario at Northern College, and he's asking, it seems he's an international student, so he's asking if he could get a part-time job, what would be the best way to do that?
Sure. Stephanie, do you want to start and I'll jump in with anything to add?
Sure. So if you're looking for part-time a job as a student, I think it's a great option to start because you are managing your school and part-time work. So the best thing to do if you are studying in campus, there are fairs that they do host for students specifically. They'll bring in organizations, let's say from the bank, retail, and they'll all come in at once and you can go to the different booths, introduce yourself, have your resume ready. So that would be my first tip. Look for those work fairs through school because there'll be student-specific jobs. And again, a lot of them will tailor to students and will be part-time hours. And also networking. Networking is very big here in Canada. I find most people who do land that job, whether it's youth, if you're already in the profession for years, networking is a great tool. So make sure to reach out to organizations, do some volunteer work, and that's also a great way to look for those part-time jobs.
Another question that we have is about Quebec. I don't know if Next Stop Canada provides information that covers the province of Quebec, if you can touch on that as well.
Yeah. So we do serve clients going to Quebec. If you had questions, we're happy to serve you as well. We know especially the schooling system can be a little different. Again, the main language in Quebec is French. So it's very important to learn your French if you are going to Quebec. And we do have partnerships with organizations that we can refer you to as well for you.
Thank you, Stephanie. There are a number of questions related to immigration, about work permits and immigration. So I'll leave this to other webinars that we organize at New Canadians that cover the immigration topic. Obviously, this webinar is for those who are approved for immigration to Canada to help them prepare for their first weeks in Canada as a youth. So thank you again, Stephanie and Maddie from Next Stop Canada. You gave a lot of information, and this recording will be shared with everyone who registered for this webinar as well and attended to go back and check the information as they prepare for their journey in Canada. So to know more about such webinars that could help you with preparing for your immigration and to Canada, you can connect with the New Canadians through the social platforms we are present on: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Telegram. And also subscribe to our newsletter to stay up to date on the important information and the services such as Next Stop Canada that serve newcomers to the country through our monthly newsletter. If you want to discuss certain topics, or even if you want to continue the conversation now, you can always join the Facebook group, our Facebook group, New Canadians Connect, where you can ask questions as well on questions, connect with others, and also start applying some of your networking skills there to make friends in Canada before you arrive. Thank you again to everyone who watched this webinar on YouTube, who joined through Zoom, and also to our two amazing speakers today from Next Stop Canada. And see you in a new webinar next time.